Hey guys, I want to show you how to tie a mainline braid to a thick trace material like the regenerator or very thick fluorocarbon. In this case I'm going to use the silencer, which is an HT8 silent braid, and the regenerator trace material here. So the first thing I do is I take my desired length of the trace material and just cut that off. It's very easy to just stretch it, just pull it like so, and you can feel that it becomes nice and straight. And then I take my mainline braid from my reel and I double that up so that I have about a foot or so where it's doubled like that. And I do that to divide the pressure on the braid. I'm just gonna do that the other way here. I do that so I can divide the pressure from actually tightening down the knot on two pieces of braid instead of one. So doubled up, step one. Then I tie a grinner knot, which is made like so. You lay the line over like that, and I pass my double braid here through 6 to 7 times, just like that. And once I'm done with that, I pull that part tight like so, and you can see I can then open my braid here, and there's a little loop that I can pull the line tight with. So I basically turn the whole knot around. So as you can see now, I have the end of my trace material and I have the two lines coming out here from the knot. I can then pull this down to about this length like so, and I double that up just like that, and I just pull it through one time and tie down that knot. A good idea is to take your pliers and just pull that tight like so. Then I can just pull those two knots towards each other like so, and you can see that's incredibly strong. So I have a very, very small but very, very strong knot at the end here. I can then trim down my braid all the way close to the knot like so, and then I can trim the one part of the mainline braid that I will not be using anymore. I can also trim that all the way down. Now, whether you want to trim down the thick little spike here or not depends a little bit if you want a weed guard. As you can see here, this one will catch any floating weed or grass in the water. And if you don't need that, I can cut that all the way down too, just like that. And that gives you one of the strongest and smallest connections between a mainline braid of a relatively thin diameter and a very thick trace material like the regenerator or fluorocarbon when you're fishing for pike. In this case here, I'm going to show you how to tie a very thin mainline braid for finesse fishing. You can see that's a 0.10 millimeter together with a relatively thin tippet material. Here's 0.22 millimeter. This would be your perfect setup for perch fishing, for example. I'm going to use a stronger colored braid here so I can show you, but the principle will be the same. So I'm just going to use this orange line here to show you what I do. I call this a 3-turn surgeon's knot, and the reason why the grinner to grinner doesn't work as well is simply because you burn the line and you crack the small PE fibers when you make the grinner knots, where the this knot that I call the surgeon's knot is not as strong on the PE fibers here, so it doesn't affect it as much. So the first thing I do is I put the two lines parallel to each other like that, and I basically just make an overhand knot like that, where I then pass my trace material 3 times through it together with the trace material. So in this case, that's 1. You can see that comes out perfectly here. I put my finger through and I do that 3 times. That's 2. And this is a little awkward tying position for me here, but I think you can fully understand the principle. And that is 3. So now I have a 3-turn overhand knot that runs over both lines like so. And all I do is I tighten them down at the same pace so they meet each other right in the middle. And that basically divides all the pressure from these lines 50-50, and you don't have too many turns to destroy the PE fiber. So that's a very strong connection when you are tying a thin braid to a thin fluorocarbon trace. And let me just show you that you can basically trim this all the way down and the knot is almost invisible. There you go. So we call this 3-turn surgeon's knot, and that's the knot we recommend when you tie a thin mainline braid to a thin trace material.